Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining for my Monday morning ZBrush live stream. Give me a second as I get set up. Just want to make sure that the mic's working all right and you guys will have the best experience listening to this stream, as I have not one, not two, but 3 3D printers running right now as we speak. So you'll hear at intervals that kind of noise. But I'm trying to run most of the audio through this mic right here, so it should be a bit better. Alright. Take that one, minimize that one, put this up here. Alright, so I'll be watching live on Twitch as well as on and then as well as on Facebook. So if you guys have any questions, just shoot those my way. I'm going to check the audio first to make sure it's working well for you guys and gals. Hope everyone's having a good morning. I guess it's morning here in Los Angeles where I'm at. Let me, I guess, do the really quick first intro bit that I usually do. I guess it's morning here in Los Angeles where I'm at. Let me, I guess, do the really
You might
quick
hear some
first
double audio
for a second as I check and test this stuff out. Intro bit that I usually do. I guess it's morning here in Los Angeles where I'm at. Let me, I guess, do the really
You might
quick
hear some
first
double audio
for a second as I check and test this stuff out. Intro bit that I usually do. I guess it's morning here in Los Angeles where I'm at. Looks to be working fine on Facebook. Intro bit that I usually do. I guess it's morning here in Los Angeles where I'm at. Looks to be working fine on Facebook. Intro bit that I usually do. I guess it's morning here in Los Angeles where I'm at. Looks to be working fine on Facebook. Intro bit that I usually do. I guess it's morning here in Los Angeles where I'm at. Alright. That I usually do. I guess it's morning here in Los Angeles. It's fun for me to listen to the double, triple audio thing happen for a second, so I can't imagine what it's like for you. Okay, so looks like the sound isn't too obtrusive. I'm on headphones, so I'm cool. Using this rod lathe mic, so you guys should should mostly be hearing the sound of my voice. So all should be well to proceed in the stream. Let's see. Okay, so like I said, I'm listening to the Twitch and the Facebook. I'm on there on the comments, so if you guys have any questions, just drop them in there and I'll take it from there. I'm going to lower the size of the screen right now and do my usual intro. My name is Aiman Akhtar. I'm a 3D artist in Los Angeles, and for the past 4 years or so I've been doing a lot of 3D printing. Large-scale projects, small-scale like stop-motion animation projects, a lot of 3D print prep. This one is Giovanni Knockbill's sculpt from VR to 3D print, so that's pretty cool. 2 new technologies that didn't exist 10 years ago to the level they do now. Like really cool to be part of these kinds of big projects and making costumes, making my own Fungusaurus toy line. So if you want to know more about my work, you can check it out at aiman3d.com, and there's a whole section entitled Print. Okay, so yeah, whole section entitled Print. Fungusaurus is my own toy line, dinosaur mushroom hybrids that got kickstarted in November of 2017, and then November 2018 we got all the toys mass manufactured and we started distributing them out. Happy to say that I think except for one person whose address we just received, Kickstarter fulfillment is almost complete. So happy about that. And if you're interested in following Fungusaurs, you can just follow them on Instagram at Fungusaurs. And if you want to buy some and help me out, you can go to online store is now open on fungusaurs.com. And just learn all about it and watch me create more of these creatures and 3D print and prototype them and mass manufacture them and slowly build the world around them. Kind of building an IP in Los Angeles, the city to do it, I guess. Okay, so that's that. Let's go to Google, and if you type in ZBrush Live presenters, or actually just type in ZBrush Live, and you see the presenters tab. You can click on that, scroll down here to Aiman Akhtar, that's me right there, and you can check out my past broadcasts and schedules. A lot of awesome artists on here, so do take a second to check out everyone's streams. I think Shane Olson may be streaming later today, yep, at 11 a.m. So check out Shane's stream. Mine's right there, and if you go to my past broadcasts and schedules, you can see I'm streaming again next week and then the last week of January. Some more of my work, my business 3D Smiths, where I take people's 2D designs and help turn them into 3D sculptured 3D prints. Project I did for 3D World magazine, a dress back in 2015, which is a lamp right now. And yeah, Fungusaurs, as I said before. So for the past 4 months or so on ZBrush Stream, I've been trying to do the same project from start to finish. I've only been working this project during the streaming hours, which is why it's taken so long. I'm like 2-hour chunks at a time. But I thought it would be really cool for you guys to see my entire process from start to finish. It's interesting to sculpt a character this way because usually I'd be done with a character like this in 2 to 3 weeks or less. Mostly just working on my own personal time. But stretching it out over the course of 4 months taught me a lot about how I work and how, you know, what's interesting for streaming, what I want to show, what parts are, you know, fun, what parts are just tedious. And in 3D printing, there's a lot of tedious parts because you're not just thinking about making a render or like a pretty sculpt. You're thinking about engineering and having a finished thing. So I did some side projects here, like that scar mask I did for Halloween. But if you go all the way back to, I think the first time I touched on this project was episode 15 in September. And let me go over to the character. And so you can see how I begin a project by blocking it in with like really simple base shapes. And this is how I start a lot of my projects. Is I'll throw in the reference from the artist in the background. This is by Ryan Winch, character. Logan from his own IP, Space Pilgrim. So I start by blocking in a character like really simple base shapes. And then I eventually keep going, refine, define, extract pieces. There's creating the base. And so from there, you can see the progress all the way to the finished character, which is here now in ZBrush. And I color it green when I know it's print ready, just so I have some kind of clue in ZBrush that it's print ready, because this mesh has been hollowed, it's been decimated, it's all one piece, so it's like it's really ready to go. Let me just go ahead and color it white for a second. Turn on the anti-aliasing so it's a bit easier for you to see. Not rasterized. But here's the finished character. Well, not finished. Nothing in art is finished. It's only ever abandoned. But you can see how the mesh has been hollowed. And you can see I'm pretty conservative with my hollowing. It's pretty thick there. at least a couple millimeters. All the inside is smoothed out because that's what I like to do. I just smooth out the insides, and I feel it creates less points on the inside that a printer would want to support, which is a good thing. But here's the finished sculpt, and if I want to make this really big again, I can show you now the finished print, which is right here. Now the camera might be doing its auto blur thing a little bit, where it tries to zoom in and around the character. Autofocus, that's what I'm trying to say. But it feels really cool, and this feeling hasn't gone away really since I started 3D printing almost 4 years ago. To make something digitally and then have it in your hand. That's a pretty cool feeling. So you can see up in the front it says Space Pilgrim. Let me actually try something. I want to show you guys without having it blur. The best way to do that, I think, is by blocking off the rest of the background and seeing if the camera will autofocus just to that point. I'm going to try something. So, whoop. Neat. Haha, it's working. Kind of. It's still trying to autofocus to something. I don't know what. You know, next time I'm just going to actually do a photograph video of a turntable and then show that. But there you can see the bottom is hollowed. See the character in all its glory. Printed in Formlabs Gray Resin version 4. And still needs support cleanup. It's still like, I cleaned up the supports really quickly, but I'm going to finish that up and then prime it and then spray paint it. So, in progress still, but I'm happy to be done with that. And then there's also his little companion. So let me show you first. Let me switch. Checking the comments on Twitch. Your printer's making soothing sci-fi noises. I'm glad you find them soothing. I do. I've definitely tuned them out, personally. It's been a bit harder for my Wi-Fi to tune them out because they don't make a regular noise. It's kind of at an interval, so you don't know when it's going to come. So you can't just easily tune it out subconsciously, but I totally have. They're not as loud as FDM printers I've found. And I have one FDM printer over here, the Raise 3D N2 Plus. That's a bit louder when I work, but not by much. Alright, so here's the Quark character. 2-part print. The base I printed solid, because I wanted there, just thinking about engineering, you know, I wanted there to be a bit more mass at the bottom here and the weight distribution so that it would keep this character afloat. And then I printed Quark here, hollow. You can see he's been hollowed through the legs. And if I hide half of him, you can see how it's hollowed. It's a pretty clean, simple hollowing. And let me show you the finished piece. Whoop, whoop. Actually, hold on. What is happening in comments? Cool, cool. Smartest is here. What's up, Stephen? Thanks for joining, mate. Stephen just showed on his Facebook his first ever ZBrush sculpt compared with the latest, and God, dude, you're brave because I don't want to do that. My first sculpts were horrible. My latest sculpts are not that much better. Like, it takes time to become the artist, the craftsman that you want to be, and we're all in different stages of the process. here is the finished Quark character, and this is printed in tough resin. And the only reason I printed this in tough resin is because I wanted to run two separate printers, and one had the tough material in it, so it's not like it needed to be printed in tough, but there it is. So if you hold them both next to each other, there's pretty cool. Kind of, once they're primed and like painted, they'll look more like from the same universe. But it's so cool to see, you know, something like I said, sculpted digitally, realized and finished. And you can play with perspective. Who's more important? I think, like, obviously the main character is more important, so you can have Quark in the background like, what's that? What's that? Like, looking out for you. But if you're interested in Ryan Winch's Space Pilgrim series, definitely look that up, because he's got an awesome book 1 that he's already finished, and book 2 which he's working on now. So if you're interested in learning about what these characters are doing way out there in space, how they got there, and what's next for them, check out his IP. Ryan's a really great concept and artist and illustrator. He's helping me out with my fungusaurs as well. So this was kind of a work trade thing where he did some illustration stuff for me, and I did a sculpt and print for him. Personal project, of course, but it's cool that he let me do the stream as well for this past 4 months on his project. I guess free publicity for him, and for me I get to actually have a personal project that I followed all the way through finish. So happy to share that with you guys, and if you're interested, I can actually show you how it's been set up in PreForm. Now these two characters are pretty simple because they're just simpler. This character here was a lot more complex of a print. He's got these dangling cords coming out of him, backpack straps, and normally you would think to slice and key up this guy into multiple pieces. However, I knew that this would print fine because, as part of my practice, I like to do a little miniature print of the character before I get into printing the large scale. And if the mini prints fine, then you're much more likely to have the actual large scale one print fine. So actually, it'll be fun to hold these up next to each other for you. Here is the miniature and the finished print. It's just making my own toys, man. That's all it is. It's just like making toys whenever you can. A little bit tacky still, because the isopropyl alcohol hasn't fully set, and it hasn't cured completely. Alright, alright. Steven's saying, yeah man, it was terrible. Well, it depends when you started. I started with ZBrush 1.5, so it's been a while. Ghost of Christmas Future is saying, whoa, you've got more hair than I expected. Man, you are not kidding. Like, this is not that much, actually. Like, I had hair down to my butt where I put my pants on, and then your hair's getting in there, and that's when you know you gotta cut it. It's like too long. This is dealable for me. Like, I can handle this. Well, usually it's either up in like a freaking man bun like this, doing the hipster thing, although I invented this thing. Like, I did this back in 2008, before it was a thing. So yeah, that's why you wouldn't notice. Alright, Rogue Bear is saying that quote is Picasso, if I remember. I think you're referring to the quote of art is never finished, it's abandoned. And I don't know, but I'm going to Google it right now. Let's see. Art is never finished, abandoned. It's a Da Vinci code according to this first post. Art is never finished, only abandoned. Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci. Man, Leonardo da Vinci makes me super jealous. If you ever looked at any of his work, by the way, he was a scientist and he was very much on the cutting edge of technology at his time. So if Leonardo da Vinci were alive today, he would not be doing painting, like oil painting, traditionally speaking. he'd be doing 3D printing. He'd be doing VR sculpting. He'd be doing all the latest tech because that's what he was all about. But he pisses me off a little bit. If you look at Da Vinci's sculpting, not even his sculpting, like look at his sketchbook. If you get a chance to study the old masters, because it's really interesting the way they visualized and rendered things. Like, let's take a look at this image if we can. Of course, it takes me to a different link. Alright, take a look at some of the way he does his rendering. It's not even cross-hatching. It's just, he's like a freaking robot. Like, he knows where to add value and where not to. It's, I mean, a ton of study, obviously. But it's just really awesome to see the kinds of stuff that he did. Michelangelo is even more infuriating. Angelo sketchbook. Because Michelangelo, it seems at some times like he didn't use lines at all. Like he would just add values where they needed to be added without even having any kind of examples for himself. Anyways, I got off on a segue here. The quote is by Da Vinci. Stephen saying he'd be doing something ahead of what we're doing. He wasn't a traditionalist, very progressive. Goes to Christmas Nature saying, what are feet? What? Kyle, what's up, man? Thanks for joining. From Pixelogic here. Okay, checking out the live stream on Facebook as well. Any comments over here? Peter is stock. Hello. Hey, Peter, what's up? Thanks for joining. I'm happy to be able to show you kind of the progression of this one project that I've been working on from start to finish. And then next week, I guess you'll see it finished because I'll actually fully clean it up and have the spray painted finished version. Not like I'm coloring it or anything, just priming it one solid color. And you have to prime these 3D prints, otherwise they will go brittle if they keep getting constant UV light. But next week you'll see I'll do an actual video turntable of it, so you'll have that finished thing and I don't have to hold it up to the freaking camera. But excited about that. The next thing moving forward now, I'm going to try to do more projects that are one and done, like where you join the stream and 2 hours later we're going to be trying to send something to print. That way we're not worried about, taking a project from start to finish over many, many, many months. I tried that experiment. I'm done with it. I'm going to basically be one and done for a little bit. Let's see how it goes. The other thing I'm really excited about is this week I'm going to CES Las Vegas with Formlabs, the makers of these printers right here in the back. So I'm going, Daniel DeLeon, Kyle from Aaron Sims Creative. We're going to be presenting at CES Las Vegas. So if you're in Vegas tomorrow through the 11th, so till Friday, come check it out. At the Formlabs booth, we'll be doing demos. And it's the world's biggest technology conference where they talk about augmented reality, they talk about AI, they talk about all the latest gadgets and trends and tech. And I'm excited because I've never been. So this will be my first time going officially. And I'll hopefully get a bunch of time to walk around and check out the show floor. So, to the point of CES Las Vegas, in preparation for that, I mean, I guess I can let you in on the fact that what we're doing for demos is that there's a lot of press that attends CES, and everyone's trying to get the attention of the press. So what we're going to be doing with Formlabs is actually having press interviews and press meetings where they come over to the booth, and we're going to do a digital scan of them, and we're going to actually sculpt and turn them into zombies. At least that's what I'm doing, and Daniel, and we might change up the demos here and there, but basically we're making zombies. We're turning the press into zombies for CES, and it should be interesting because it's hard to turn someone into a zombie in a short amount of time. So I prepared a bunch of assets for myself in order to make this easier. I made a ZBrush IMM brush, I made some alphas, and I made a bunch of poses. So that's what I want to do for the rest of the stream. We've got about an hour and a half to make a zombie from start to finish. So, as the smartest is saying, very elitist sort of show. I have no idea about what to expect. It's by invitation only. That's not surprising. It's kind of like Toy Fair in that sense, like industry only. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the show's like. By the way, did you guys see Bumblebee yet? It's my wallpaper right now because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, it was actually very fun and entertaining for me, and a big departure from previous Transformers movies, where Michael Bay just kind of explosioned it. There was actually, a lot of character development between this girl and this creature, and it was so cool to see. Kind of because what I'm building with my Fungosaurus brand back here is the same kind of thing I want to propagate, but more organic side, is the relationship between a large character and a human without words. So it was really cool to see that done well. Not as good as Iron Giant by Brad Bird, so if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But I think it was really the Transformers movie that I wanted to see since the 80s. Alright, so I'm going to start loading up the assets to make the zombie here. So here's my CES demo stuff folder. And I've got a zombie parts, and I've got zombie poses. So let me show you zombie parts first so you can get an idea of what I prepared over the weekend. Kurt Buttigieg saying, let's just start it at the Bumblebee reboot. Forget about the others. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Okay, so here's some of the assets that I prepared for this zombie CES demo. And some of these assets I made, some of them I found or I got from online from badking.au. So if you haven't seen that, go check out badking.au. Yeah. All right. So that's where I got this body from. Another torso from Brad King. So this foot I sculpted really quickly. Just a really roughed up, gnarly foot. A nose. This is just a simple clean nose. And then I sculpted up a zombie nose, which is just the nose got cut off. Clean mouth. And then zombified mouth. Just going, hey! Hey! No. Gotta do it right. Gotta do the Rocky thing. Gotta do, yo, Adrian! Okay. I don't know if any of you get that reference. But ear, and messed up ear. Yeah. A few different arms. Again, I think from Bad King. Sculpted by a bunch of different artists. I think Michael Macera, Justin Goby Fields. This one, I found an arm that was on Bad King, and then I sculpted it up because it was a bit too thin, and so I thickened it up. You can still see where I've just inflated it really roughly. But it'll give us the base for a zombie kind of arm reaching out towards you, which I think will look pretty cool. Some hands I found. So this is kind of just preparing a bunch of assets that I would then turn into an IMM brush in order to speed up our workflow. Another hand. Another hand. The blobbed hand. I think these are from the Monsters pack and I didn't want to use the brush directly. I wanted to make one brush which had everything I wanted in it, set up the way I wanted. So there's that. Oh, some teeth. A few different type of teeth. Simple teeth, really detailed teeth, just kind of cartoony teeth. And tongues. So here's this one like monster tongue. A more regular but still pretty long tongue. Ooh, and I made some brains. Brains were fun. And brains are pretty easy to make in ZBrush. Any guesses on how you guys think I made this? What brush and or tool did I use from here to make ZBrush? Pro 4210, yes, that's mostly Bad King stuff. But then I made like half of the stuff in this brush. Alright, got some clay add, curved tube, tubes. Al Stephen's the most correct so far. Curve snap, cactus brush, curved. No cactus brushes. I use the curved tube snap, which is a really useful, fun way of doing tubes like this to make a brain. Actually, if I show you really quickly, here's a sphere that I've just appended on, and here's the curved tube snap. Let me go over to this model, and you can kind of just do this thing, and there you have a bunch of brain matter that you can then still move around. So it's pretty useful still. You can change the size of it. The curve actually lets you adapt to a lot of things. You drop the selection, and then you can inflate. And if you do a better job of it, smooth and define and detail, then it's going to look like brains. So there's that. Got a hatchet. This is from Jared Krzyzewski. This is a bunch of eyes that I made really quickly because I thought it would be cool to be able to drop in character eyes. Now I did a few different versions. So there's the left and right version of each, like kind of basically with a pupil, without that, with iris defined, and then again with that iris a bit more defined. So yeah, that's about it for the zombie brush assets. I did one other thing which I can show you. Oh, so basically what do you do once you have all these assembled, right? You've got all these parts here, and you want to make an IMM brush. You basically go to the view that you want. So you don't want like the top view or right view or left view. You go to the front view in ZBrush, and you can go to Create Insert Multi-Mesh Brush under the brush settings. So you go to Brush, Create Insert Multi-Mesh, and you click on that. ZBrush is going to think a little bit. Thinking, and then there you go. There's your IMM brush created with all of these zombie parts from the angle that you like. And so now if I want to draw a foot out on anything, I can just click on it and draw it out. So this workflow really makes it a lot easier to and faster to do these kinds of live demos. Another thing, let me see if I can open this one. Mossy Jenny, hi from Thailand. Thanks for joining. Peter Istog, loving my streams. Thanks, man. Appreciate the support. I'm kind of figuring out what I'm doing as I go, as in most things in life. Okay, so this is how another thing I did for the ZBrush for the CES Las Vegas is I prepared some custom alphas where I sculpted wounds that I would, want on a zombie. So this is just on a basic kind of cube that's been shrunk down, and I don't really care what's happening on the background because I'm not using these as subtools or IMM brushes. I'm going to use them just as alphas. So a few different wound types, one with a brain sticking out, one with some muscle tissue sticking out, a random part of a knee sticking out like bone. This is just scars, like scratches basically. Another scar, just wider. Some pox. And you can see I'm over sculpting the heck out of this stuff. Like I wanted it to come out as much as I can off the surface so it'll create a good alpha. But stitches, a bullet wound, kind of with like some blood dripping. And so these are really quick, fast, sculpts, but the point is, once I have them in place and they're ready, I can switch from my simple brush here, or just whatever tool I've got selected, and go down to the MRGBZ grabber. And it's really a great tool for doing a custom sculpt and just dragging out this rectangle. And if you want to move it, you can hold the space bar and move that around. I'm gonna just try to get it all the way to the edges, but not get the edges themselves. And there you go. I dropped that MRGBZ grabber, it's dragging it out from the center to the edges, and it saves that texture for me, which I don't really care about, but it saves the alpha for me, which I do care about. Now that alpha is going to be super useful for drawing that that pattern out onto a character. So say I'm in my standard brush, so let me clear this. Let's draw this back on. Edit mode, go to my standard brush. I'll go to drag rectangle, and I can select that new alpha that I just grabbed using the MRGBZ grabber. And let's go over, I think I may have a clean plate. Yeah, here we go. So this is just a clean surface, just with Z add and the intensity to 25. There I'm drawing that on. So there's a few things I want to adjust on this. One, I want to crank the Z intensity. And the more I crank it, the more visible this thing becomes. Also, I want to mess with the focal shift in some of the settings. Under brush, actually no, under alpha, modify, there's the mid value. And I like to crank that mid value up to like 50. Well, I guess it depends on what surface you're working. Previously, the mid value at 50 was helping me achieve better results, but this time it's not. It's working really well as is. But you can adjust the focal shift of this character and then draw that out like that. And you can see it's got the edges going in the focal shift. Maybe that's why I did the mid value up, because I didn't want to see the focal shift edges. No, it's still showing them. So I don't know. I don't know what the heck happened with the previous scene I was in, but I needed to mess with the mid value. But the focal shift controls the range a little bit of how the stuff is drawn out. But the MRGBZ grabber is a pretty good tool for that. And I think I might want to adjust the RF value or something, but in any case, you can make adjustments to the alpha here in the alpha modifiers and then draw them out the way you want. So I'm going to try to mess with it a little bit and try to make a zombie. The other thing I made for myself and Daniel is the zombie Poses Ztl. Alright, so Smartest is saying soften your focal shift a little bit. If you have the focal shift too strong, it'll make a weird bowing in the profile. Agreed, there was a weird looking bowing there. Alright, so let's clear the scene and let's take a look at some of these poses I mocked up real quick too. So these are just with the Z mannequins. You can access those by going to Lightbox, and then there's demo projects, I think, and then there's the mannequin. And I like to use this one with a big head because that's better for stylized characters. So there's one pose that I mocked up. Here's another one, kind of like the brain eater pose, like just like turns towards you like. Here's the Walking Dead, quite literally just walking forward. There's the Thriller. Na 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 na. Na, na, na. There's the reaching for you, kind of dragging his busted legs forward on the ground. This is probably going to print the best because it'll be the most stable on the ground. The opposite is this unstable character. Just kind of like meandering forward. Like I can almost hear the sound effects in my head when I look at these, like Another unstable variety. Just kind of wiped out, like, oh, I just had such a long day eating brains as a zombie. Pro 42010 is saying, don't look now, but I think there's a ninja robot slowly creeping up on you. I can hear him. Yep, I get that ninja robot thing. That's my printers running in the background. There's 3 of them right now, all running our project. So this hopefully won't happen that much in the future. A couple of these are my friends' printers, so I'm going to downsize after this job is done and then send them back to them. And I'll be running probably 2 printers from my home. Alright, so I don't know which pose I want to pick. Kind of like this brain eater one because it's just kind of cute and funny looking. Yeah, heck with it. Let's just make the brain eater. So I'm going to go to the brain eater pose and I'm just going to clone them so I can work on a clean scene with no other subtools. And let's turn this guy into a zombie. Let's see, what do you say? Alright, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to go to auto groups. I wonder if that works with a mannequin. Probably not. No, it does not work with a mannequin. So first thing I want to do is turn this mannequin into just a usable thing. So I think I can just press A, and that'll give me an idea of the mesh that I will get out of it. Duplicate that just in case so I have a backup in case I do want to go back. And let's dynamesh this character. Let's see, is this 256 resolution? Just going to smooth them out. Just holding shift over everything, smoothing it out. Dynamesh again. I don't know if that dynamesh worked the second time. Yeah, it did. There you go. Alright, so there we've got like the building block of what we're going to do. And I can begin right away by using my, I don't know, I think I can do this. Might be wrong, but I made that insert mesh brush. So let's start by using that. So I've got feet right here. I'm going to go down to the bottom and draw this foot out. Now I can adjust the depth, brush depth, in order to make this appear more where I want it to be, but I have no problem just moving it in place with the gizmo tool or with your transpose brush. Just moving it in place. And what I will try to do as I'm working on these pieces, it'll try to just split the unmasked points to their own layer. What happened? Why don't I see it? Usually it would say split unmasked points right there. Alright, it's not letting me split anything. How weird. Maybe because it's not yet a dynamesh? Let's see. Aha! So I had to actually click A couple of times in order to make it a polymesh 3D. How strange. Okay. Let me turn it into an actual dynameshed finished thing before I work on it. So I'm going to go over to here, make polymesh 3D. And now it should no longer have that background info of the... Yeah, now when I press A, nothing happens. So now I can work on this. I'm going to delete this tool so as to not have any confusing parts in there. Call this Brain Eater 1. Dupe it. Smooth it out again. Yeah, so when you're working with mannequins, first you've got to press A in order to kind of preview what they look like, but it isn't actually a polymesh 3D unless you go and click make polymesh 3D, and then you can start working on it. I'm going to go back to my insert mesh with that foot. And what I meant by adjust the brush depth is you can go under brush palette, under depth, and lower that. And what that'll do is that'll kind of place the foot a bit more buried. Don't want it to have symmetry. Just one at a time. Rotate and place that. Rotate a bit this way, rotate a bit that way. Still a lot faster than sculpting a foot from scratch. And you know what? Since I'm going for a stylized character, I'm going to make those feet a bit big. Let's make him look more menacing by having these giant hands and feet. Alright, so once that's drawn, I can go to split. Yeah, and that's working now. Split, unmask points. And so now I've got my foot on my own subtool. And I can use this to have it mirror over really quickly. Z plugin, subtool master, mirror. Let's try over the x-axis. Yeah, worked well enough. And I'm going to rotate it now. Just using the gizmo tool. Or not using the gizmo tool because it's a bit faster for me. Looks like he's got zombie shoes. That should be a thing. Zombie shoes. I know a bunch of artists that would buy them and wear them. Alright, so now I'm just going to sculpt this a bit more into place. Raise that heel. Lower that front. Alright, cool. And delete the parts I don't want. Alright, so just already with the feet, he's looking a bit more zombie-esque. Geometry, modify topology, let's see. There. Under geometry, modify topology, delete hidden, so I can delete those feet stubs. And I just deleted the feet that were there previously. Dynamesh again to close that. Alright, so there I've got like my feet in place. Let's get the hands in place that we want. And let's get a brain in there. So I'm going to scroll over to my brain first. And let's draw that out. He's eating a big brain. Dude, this is going to be awesome. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's try changing the angle a little bit here and there. I totally have to have a bite taken out of his brain at some point, like a chunk. It's like he just killed Einstein. Oof, it's a big brain. Alright, cool. So we got the brain. Let's get a hand in there. So I don't know what hand I like yet. Oh, wait. Before I do that, I'm going to, again, just to have a clean work area, split unmasked point so that brain is on its own separate layer. Alright, so that's the really messed up hand. It's not bad. It's kind of holding the brain in place. So that might work. It's a really big chunky hand. Let's see what else I got. Got this one. This is cool. It's more like grabby. Might try that. Move that in place, like there, like so. Man, I should create brushes like this for all of my streams. It'll be so much faster to get to the finished products. Uh-oh. Don't want to move all the time. You want to rotate sometimes and you want to switch to move at other times. And scale that hand down. Too big right now. Alright, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to split that, split unmasked points, and I will do the same thing I did before. Because I think, no, you know what, let's try a different one. Let's try this insert mesh brush here. Actually draw out a different hand entirely. Different arm. Good to add a little variety, a little spice of life. That's a massive arm though. This one's, I guess, from the, I know it's from the badking.au Monster Arm series. So credit where credit is due. You know what? I might not even have it holding the brain. Like, it looks so cool when it's just like it just noticed you. Like, it was eating the brain, but now it's like, I got another brain. Because zombies are greedy. You stick this to this and that to that. Yep, totally, man. So this is kind of the happy accidents that can come up, where you come up with an even better pose than you started with. Just by experimentation through the process of working on this stuff. And again, I'm going to go ahead and delete hidden. Dynamesh again to close those chunks. And come in here, my mask lasso tool, control tap over there to move it around. And let's get that joint feeling like it's going in the right direction. Alright. Kind of sort of feeling right. Over here. Fill that arm in. And we're going to Dynamesh all this stuff together and be able to really quickly mock it up, hopefully. This is a good test for me as well, doing it here on my stream first before the show to get an idea of how long all this stuff takes. Alright, so got my brain eater pose. I might actually rotate this hand a bit more upward. So he looks like he's holding the brain up in his hand rather than forward in his hand. Like he would drop it. The zombie is not going to drop a brain. He's worked hard for that brain. I got to remember to switch from move to rotate. And since I'm thinking about 3D printing these, I want to fill in any negative space with those fingers. Like, I'm not messing around with any gaps that may or may not print. And fingers are notorious for that. Like, fingers can give all sorts of trouble with printing. Alright, move that over, move that there. Alright, so got the brain intersecting with some of these fingers. That's okay. Still looks like a brain. That's what matters. And I can come in here at any point and adjust these as well, individually. Rotate that into place. These other two fingers need to look like they need to come out a little bit. But you know what? I could also just sculpt just with my move brush. Kind of move the brain around. Let's take the damp standard tool, make it big, and inflate around it. Like, I mean, I guess technically speaking, brain is all soft matter, so it wouldn't actually show up in his hand like that. Now we're talking about realism and making zombies. That's right. Alright. So I got my zombie character now, holding a brain. I'm going to save the scene, just in case. Brain Eater 1. Spaceship Rat just joined, saying, is that something printing in the background? There is. There's 3 prints happening right now in the background. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Nope, Pro 42010 is like, nope, that's the robot ninja. Sneaking up on me just like the zombie pose. Trying to eat my brain. I would say 3D printing has consumed my brain for a while now. Trying to break out of that. Can't be limited by one technology. You got to think about it in terms of what's also coming down the pipe. Like VR is coming down the pipe, so I got to get more into sculpting in VR. I got to get more into getting back into animation, just like simple character stuff, because that's what I got in this for, is the storytelling aspect of it, you know. And so if you're not storytelling with your sculpts when you print them, with your toys and your whatever print projects that you do, then what's the point? Alright, I'm probably going to come in and sculpt all of this stuff up later, but let's continue on the big stuff. So for the heads, the plan was, and still is, that we're going to make the press into zombies, right? So we're going to need scans of their faces. So what I need right now, and probably that should be the first thing I do so the press is actually interested in what's happening. Here's the deltoid. Mock that up for now. The first thing I want to do is get the press's heads in there. So let's start by grabbing a scan. And if I go to my Z plugin 3D Print Hub import STL file, I've got a couple of scans in here, Annalisa and Sarah. Let's grab Sarah's head. And I can draw those out. Whoa. So this is a scan that was done by, gosh, I knew I'd forget during the stream. I'm going to look it up real quick. Bellus 3D, B-E-L-L-U-S 3D. They're the ones providing the scanning services at CES for this demo. Brain-eating zombie president. Now, I think our president is currently eating brains. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and append that in there. Whoa, it's big. It is very big. I mean, I could turn it into an IMM brush and drag it out, but since I've already appended it, I'm just going to go to my deformation tab and shrink the size down. A few more times. One more time. There we go. Head in the butt. Perfect. And there's the head. Let's kind of get it in place. And like I said, I'm doing a bit of a stylized zombie, so I'm going to make that head a little bit bigger. And hide some of that. Bring back some of the other bits of that. Alright, so this is Sarah from Formlabs, scan of her that I received this past week or week before. And what I'm going to do is just fill in this head of the Z mannequin. And then that way when I dynamesh it later on, it should just close. Let's go in here and also get some anatomical detail getting on there. The sternocleidomastoid. I just love saying that. It makes people think I know what I'm talking about. Try to get rid of some of this junky spherical anatomy that we've still got in here from the Z mannequin. Alright, and we'll mess with the anatomy later, but first, the point is, I guess I got the head in there. So the scan does work. Alright. This will be fun. I haven't actually met Sarah yet. I think I'm going to meet her this week. But I'll have already turned her into a zombie. Alright, so being that Sarah is a girl, and I don't think she has arms this beefy. I don't know. I haven't seen her arms yet, but I think I'm going to make them a bit thinner and wirier. Leave them muscular, though. I'm a fan of strong women. Let's see. I say that, but my wife totally doesn't have any muscles. See, girls get to get away with it, though. Like, at least my wife does. Can be pretty and then not have to worry about it, while us dudes grew up watching He-Man, and that's our freaking body goals. Alright, cool. Some more of that muscle in there. Hide some of that. The elbow peeking out. Alright, so step one of turn Sarah into a zombie. Now, the other thing I was thinking is I'll wait to see what people are wearing before I make their clothes. That way it can at least be a bit more kind of interactive, you know? But let me save this out again. Here, Brain Eater 1. So within, I'd say, I don't know, 15 minutes I've been working on, it's going pretty good. Inventive is asking, how are those Formlabs printers? I swear by them, honestly. I really like them because they're the best printer that I've encountered for professionals for a desktop use. Professionally speaking, I prefer the EnvisionTex a bit more for resin-based printing. The supports come off a bit cleaner, the detail can be a lot finer, but those printers start at about 50 grand. So they're a lot more expensive versus the Formlabs Form 2s are like 3,500 or so. Alright, so now I'm kind of torn because I wanted to make this like really stylized zombie with big hands and big feet, but big hands and big feet make characters look more masculine. Now whether that's true or not in 2019 with all this, you know, gender equality stuff happening, which is fair, it's still, character design wise speaking, big hands and big feet make a character feel more masculine. So I think to counter that, I might have Sarah be wearing a dress. Let's see. Me and my traditional gender norms. Give her some boobies. Go to damn standard to do that. Get some more anatomy in here. Some side boobage. Pull that out. Pull that out. And I'm going to go over this basically real quick and just make this feel a bit more anatomically correct. Not that that's easy working off of a Z mannequin by any stretch, but I'm working pretty low poly, so it shouldn't be too hard to pull it off. Okay, got some base boobies drawn in there. Let's go some anatomy. I don't know how much Sarah works out, but since we've got a pretty muscular arm, I think I should make her a bit more muscular as well. Get the trapezius in there. And it's kind of may all be a moot point because I may throw a dress on it anyway. But I like to sculpt anatomy. It's one of my flaws. Or one of my advantages. Use inflate brush to inflate up that butt a bit and kind of get it back into place. Get those delts feeling right. I always like to over sculpt the anatomy and then work backwards. It's a bit easier that way than the other way, which is to under sculpt the anatomy. I guess the more anatomy you know, the more confident you are. Like I'm sure Da Vinci was sculpting this, he would just know exactly what muscles to add where. And I do to a degree as well. Let's get the clavicles in there. Got that center line a bit more defined. The trapezia should be coming out a bit further than the waist, so we can shrink that waist down a bit. It's already looking a lot more anatomically correct than when we started. This elbow needs some help and love. Switch to the inflate brush. Inflate out those triceps a bit more. Don't know if there's a bra happening here, so I'm just going to try to go for a bit more naturalistic breast. Let's get some serratus anterior going on. From that, the actual abdominis. And let's see, how much are we going to go forward with this anatomy stuff? You can try to make the sartorius muscle just cutting across, start making these quads. And you can tell so far I'm not really caring about the topology at all. And the topology is what it is. I like that. Define that line a bit better. And this kind of thing, I think you'll have a better understanding of anatomy the more you sculpt it. Because you'll know where stuff is supposed to go. Not that it works all the time. You know, your base knowledge and understanding of anatomy doesn't always lead to the best results. Always have to keep studying it. It's like a language. Alright, that is a big butt zombie. So let's take that back, tone that down a bit. That's big to small. I'm going to make that calf a bit larger. Sarah has not been skipping leg day. That is a one muscular zombie. I would not want to get caught with that thing looking at me while eating a brain. Okay, sweet. That delt sorted out a bit better. And define this again, the neck area. Whoa. All the way down, all the way down. The clavicle back up again. I switch to my clay tubes brush in order to add some value, or just clay. I've got this mapped to my keyboard with just C, but obviously you can have it however you want. Oh, that's another thing I should do for CES. I should make sure I take my custom ZBrush hotkeys and stuff, because that would be a pain to try to sculpt without that stuff now. I'm so used to it. Alright, cool. So, there's our first pass on the zombie. I want to get the back of the head in there as well. And start laying in some hair. That's one cool thing about doing this with the Z mannequin head under there, is that I can just use that for my hair. I can just pull it out to create the hair I want. Come on, come on, there it is. And then just tone it back down. Alright, let's start working on Sarah's face a bit now too. So I'm going to save this out. Make sure I'm saving pretty regularly. Made an IMM boob brush. I should do that. That would be interesting. Alright, Inventive saying constantly see ads on YouTube for Formlabs printers. I mean, they do have enough of a budget to advertise. They do a good job of promoting themselves in movies and pop culture. It looks so cool, you know, like I've seen it in the back of Avengers movies and stuff. But that shouldn't be why you buy it. You should buy it because you are actually interested in like higher level 3D printing, and if you've done a bit of hobby printing before. Like, I recommend not having Formlabs Form 2s be your first 3D printer. You should experience what FDM 3D printing is all about, and you can get those printers for a couple $100. The CR10, for example. And that's probably a better way to start your 3D printing journey, because that way you can experiment and learn what 3D printing is about, and figure out what you like, what you don't like, before you commit to, you know, $3 grand. Because FDM printing is much cheaper. Like, I love Formlabs and I love SLA printing, but it's $150 per liter for that material. So, and third-party resins, you can't really keep printing full scale. They don't auto refill. So if you want to experiment, I'd say get a, you know, as just a hobbyist, get an FDM printer first, like a cheap one, get the hang of it, and then get your SLA printer. And if you're getting an SLA printer, there's a few on Kickstarter right now, but honestly, you got to go with Formlabs just for their support and their, you know, when you're 3D printing, you're going to have a lot of problems. So you're going to need to have a network. Like, I have so many friends that call me up all the time saying, hey, this isn't printing, what's wrong, what's happening, and I help them out. So having that network to help you out, and having support help you out, because you're going to need it. You're going to need the support while you're figuring it out. All right, get that a bit lower, get this up here, just inflate that whole area. All right, so that's, all right, it's a really muscular version of Sarah. And then we can start working on her face. So I'm going to duplicate this just in case I mess it up too much. Hide it. And let's go back to my IMM brush. It's 9:15, so we're doing good on time. I think I'll have like an hour or so per each of these to make the character. Inventive, I haven't tried the Anycubic Photon myself, but I've heard good things about it. So if you want to check it out, go for it. Let me know how it is. Alright, so we've got Sarah's head there, but I think it needs some zombie mouthing. Go ahead and add a little zombie touch to there. Split that off by split unmask points. Going with the damn standard brush and just fill that in. Alright. Oh, and I turned it off. Can't turn it off. I need the head there. And I want to make sure I bury those lips so that when I do Dynamesh, it picks them up. And I'm not caring too much about being perfect with this stuff because I'm going to have to sculpt it anyway after the insert is complete. Alright, so we got those new zombie lips. This can be problematic because the more you insert, the more you add, the less it's going to look like that person and their scan. That's kind of the challenge I've got here. For example, let's do something even more extreme. Let's add some eyes. Oh no, let's add some ears first. Messed up ears. So I'm going to smooth out Sarah's scan ear here and then add this one in here. I'm going to adjust my brush depth so that comes in already a bit buried. I'm going to split unmask points and just damn standard my way in there. So there's one messed up ear, gnarly ear. And the other one, the other one's even more visible. A bit strange having two gnarly ears, but I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to go over to here, Z plugin, subtool master, mirror, mirror, meow, meow. Where's the ear? Oh, there it is. It's like way off there. And I'll just move that back. You know what's interesting is if I just leave this as is, it works. However, if I work on it a bit, I think I can get it to work even better. Let's see. And what I mean by that is, like there, this looks fairly kind of like realistic-y. But how if I scale up these ears to make them look even bigger, like kind of Gollum-esque, you know? Obviously, it's not going to look as much like Sarah now. But having these big ears tells a better story. Because now you've got a character that can hear, you know? And that hearing plays a big part in this character. Because in this story that we're telling, this character is busy eating brains, but then it hears you. So that big ears actually help convey that point across. These ears are looking a bit gnarly because I'm trying to fix them and change them up so that they both aren't looking too gnarly. And that just made them more gnarly. But you know what? I think it'll still print well. So that's what matters. And what I like to do for the back of ears when you're 3D printing is just inflate them. Inflate the heck out of them. Alright. Smooth that, inflate that, inflate that. Come back in here with the damn standard brush and work some magic. Ears can be a bit of a pain to sculpt, so I do recommend when you can make an insert mesh brush for those. That way you can just learn that ear anatomy once and not have to keep relearning it over and over and over. I think having those big ears will help convey the story a bit better. So I'm going to stick with that. Okay, enough of the ear. Let's move on. To the eyes. So I'm going to go over to my insert mesh brush again. Let's pick out some of these different eyes and see what works best. Ah, wrong way. Ah, wrong way. What? Ah, I see. So this is the way it's got it drawn out. Okay, and then I'll lower the brush depth. Trying to find the right plane to draw it on, but it's not forthcoming easily. So I'll just draw it out and rotate it into place. Yeah, by the end of this process, I don't even know if the press will be able to recognize their own themselves. Alright, so there's one option, and I can take this eyebrow and scale it down a bit. So very, very kind of vampire-esque eyes. Oh. But it's still not looking the right direction. So I'm going to create this custom mask. Select that eyeball. Whoa. Oh, I see. It's part of the mesh right now. So I'm going to split hidden. Then work on it. Make sure I've got it looking the place I want it to look. And let's scale them up too. I think bigger eyes would be better, at least from a stylized perspective. You know what? I think it's better if this kind of conforms with the eye shape a bit more, and then we come back and rotate the pupil itself. So let's select just the pupil, or just the internal component, and rotate that so we can have the eye look where we want it to look. Alright, so that's kind of like a dead eye look. Let's go with another one, which is the iris eye, and see what that looks like as well. So, same thing we did before. I'm going to draw that out. I'm going to move it up into place. And I can just kind of take a look side by side and decide which one of these I like better. Okay, let's split on mass points. Go back to that eyelid, shrink that down. Not eyelid, eyebrow. Move that a bit more forward. And you know what would be fun is if we change up the expression on this so that one eye is like even more eager for more brains. These greedy zombies. Invert that. Let's rotate that a bit. And let's go ahead and select the internals and rotate those as well. So now we've got this eye looking straight at us. Back to the head. And let's start merging some of these pieces together. Merge down. Always okay. Alright guys, what do you say? What works best as far as the eye? Do we like the her right or do we like her left? This detail might not show up during print at all anyway. So I'm torn. Let's see here. Let me try smoothing this out and see what it looks like. So this is kind of the dead eye look, which I think I like better, at least for this one. Alright. Easy way to make a character look more feminine. Select that upper eyelid. You know what? I'm going to auto group this stuff just so that it lets me select parts easily. Mask that off. And like I said, easy way to make a character look feminine. Make those eyelashes a bit longer and wider. More pronounced. It's too pronounced up at the top. Same thing here. Kind of know what I just did. Can do the same thing. Perfect. All right. I'm liking it. Go into the dam standard. Let's define a little bit of bridge of the nose. I don't think I want to completely lose the nose for this zombie. There we go, so like that. Move that eyebrow ridge up a bit, as if she's surprised. And since we are going for a bit more stylized, I'm going to try to define those cheekbones and make her seem a bit more gaunt. Now this is a big no-no when you're sculpting pretty characters. You don't want to define these cheek lines as much. But since we're making zombies, I think anything is fair game. You want to add as many crow's feet as you can because these characters have been out in the elements for a while now. Getting battered up, getting bruised up. Very Gollum-esque now, almost. But the sharper I go with these kinds of things, the better they'll look in print. Because that's what matters. Do we get a good print out of it at the end of the day? Alright. So it looks nothing like Sarah already, but it is her essence, I'd say. Alright, so now, again, I can't see what she's wearing because she's not here today. But I can make up a quick base and maybe work on the hair a little bit more. Actually, you know what? Let's have some wounds and stuff on her too. Let's make sure all of my stuff is working. Alright. I'm going to turn the brain off because everything but the brain I want it to be one piece. So I'm going to merge visible and I'll append that back on. And I turn the brain back on. So now everything is just in this one mesh piece together. And I'm going to Dynamesh it, see what happens. Now before I do that, I'm going to save. Still saving. Alright, there we go. Save complete. Let's add some wounds. And I don't know if I want to add any clothes to this. I kind of like how raw this is. Like she just stepped out of the shower like this. But you know what would be cool is to add some curves for the hair. That's way too big. That'll work actually. No. No. Again, I have no idea what Sarah's haircut looks like, but I can try to have a few strands here just hanging down. Let's see, so like this piece right here, mask that. I don't know if I want the challenge of doing the long hair for this character, especially if I don't know what her hair looks like, so I'm just going to keep it short. Perfect. Alright, so that's what I want to do. Just add a few more of those strands. Ah, curved tubes. Forgot what I was doing for a second. Brush is way too big. Still too big. Draw that out. Pull it out further. I was trying to make this hair kind of flow along with the flow of the mesh. That way it doesn't feel too forced or anything. I do like those strands kind of sticking out the back a bit. Like she just quickly whipped her head around. And the hair is just trying to keep up with that motion. And a couple more strands should do the trick. Little tube snap this time. Drop that. Bury the top of that. Pull out the back of that. Curl it up a bit. And one more right there. Again with the curved tube snap. And let's have it come from a bit further. I gotta remember to keep changing my brush size back down. Okay, cool. Digging it. So, got the hair in there, got the brains in there, got the body in there. Let's go ahead and Dynamesh this. So I'm going to duplicate, go to Geometry, Dynamesh at, I don't know, let's see what 128 does. Alright, 128 resolution is way too low. Kind of a waste. So I'm going to up the resolution to, say, 600. Try that. And that works pretty well. It's 1.3 million polys. I can go over it and hit it with a smooth pass. Smooth out some of these meeting points. Some of this rasterized geometry. Actually pretty happy with how it's progressed so far, considering only worked on it for what, like less than an hour so far? Alright, so I don't think I want to make all my zombies naked, so I think I want to give it a shot and try to see what would happen if I throw on some clothes. So, with this kind of outfit, I mean with this kind of character, not knowing what she'd be wearing there, but most people there will probably be wearing some sort of business casual thing. So, no point in making a dress. Let's save. Definitely a robot ninja. Alright, that's what's happening. Next week I'm making a robot ninja, you guys. How much finishing time do these things take with sanding, filling, resculpting with epoxy? Let's see. Depends on what you do. Like, they do take a few hours of sanding, almost guaranteed. You know, an hour or so of clipping the supports off and sanding those down, and then priming. So almost every project takes at least a few hours of that. See, resculpting with epoxy, I don't really do that. I do some hole filling. So if there's like the hollow hole at the bottom of certain meshes, kind of like this one right there, I'll fill that in with epoxy, like Propoxy or something. All right. Yeah, that's the Wankster saying, right, it's worth it. No, you're right. I mean, nothing good comes easy, you know? So you always have to work for it. All right, so I don't want to spend time making a whole big business casual suit on this character after I spend the time defining the anatomy. So what I will do is do some sort of like wraith-like dress. So I'm going to go over with my mask lasso, select the top of this area, right there, and I'm going to do a subtool, extract. Let's see what this default settings yield. Not bad, actually. That looks perfect. I'm going to accept that and drop this mask selection. Kind of pull it out. And let's let this dress flow a bit. And wherever it's flowing, obviously, I can start losing the anatomy detail. And now it feels a lot more straight up like nightgowny, you know, like she did just wake up and get turned into a zombie. But really pushing that ledge out, like I push these ledges out even more for 3D printing than I would normally. And that'll be good because then it'll read a lot better. Alright, just smoothing out some of that anatomical detail where it's not needed. I don't need the butt line there, for example. Uh-oh. Solo this out. Make sure I'm getting the full back of the dress back there. Janked it up, but whatever. You can create some tears and rips in this dress too. Don't know how long she's been a zombie. Inflate that area. H polish. And I'm going to dynamesh this dress as its own geometry. It's way too high right now, so hopefully dynameshing at this smaller resolution will help. And the other thing that's happening right now is the inside of the mesh is kind of interpenetrating with the outside. So I want to make sure it's not doing that when I dynamesh. All right, perfect. Now I can add in some flow in there, how actual cloth would flow. Based on the best we can approximate. For Zombie Dearest. Now she's doing a bit of a turn, so there'll be a bit of a pull right there. And I want this dress to be a bit more anatomically fitted up at the top. Don't want to ruin that illusion. Whoa. So I'll come in and carve in some pretty little wrinkles. Pretty little drapery. I try to create like a bit more roughed up bottom of this. More raggedy, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Raggedy cloth. And maybe we'll do some straps from the front to the back so it doesn't feel so forced. Like, I don't think a zombie would be able to keep strapless clothing on them for as long as they're undead. So with cloth, the technique is basically, the trick is knowing where it would flow. So you've got to think about where the pressure is coming from, the pull, the tug, and adapt to that. Like in this case, it would be coming from the breast, kind of coming outward from the dress. And the rest of it will just kind of be getting wrinkled up in the center area. Alright, cool. That's a good looking dress right there. And let's add those straps that I just mentioned. I'm going to go to the curved strap snap this time instead of curved tube snap. And let's see if this works. Kind of. Let's try again. It's slightly better. And draw it out bit by bit. Let's see. Yeah, that's much better. Drop that selection. Come in here and enhance. Enhance, enhance, enhance. Bury that into the dress. I'm going to do the same thing back here with this. Let's see. Split, unmask points. Go to geometry, divide, divide, divide. Go to inflate that up. Smooth it out. I'm going to show a bit more of this under strap so that you can really sense the feel of that strap pulling up on it, keeping this whole dress up. Same down here. You know, I'm super stoked with this demo zombie so far. If I can make all the press look at least this good, I'll be happy. Okay, curve strap again. Where is it? Curve strap snap. Take that from there to there. Oh, a bit smaller. And around to the front. Let's see here. Oof, this will be a bit tougher to pull off. You know what? It's going to be too tough to pull off. So I'm going to go ahead and just take that first strap and duplicate it over. Before I do that, excuse me, I want to grab the inside part of this strap. Oop, just the inside. Cool. Invert that selection and just move it in. So I'll just bury that in. That way I won't have to worry about any gaps in the strap as far as 3D printing goes. And this is, again, just a 3D printing trick. You want to make sure there's no intersecting surfaces, no gaps between the surfaces. So I'm going to duplicate that strap, move it over to the other end. Yeah, there, kinda, sorta, perfect. And I'll just use my sculpt tools to sculpt it in place. Okay, not bad, considering. Let's see. I'm going to go in with the H polish and just soften up some of these edges, harden them up again. Same thing on the front here. H polish. And maybe pinch along the edges to really define those. Lastly, I'll add some wounds and we'll call it done. And get it out to print. $9.55. We started this, I think, at around 9 basically. Maybe 8:45. The good thing about turning people into zombies is that they can't be too picky that it doesn't look like them, because it's a zombie version of them. They've been dead. They've been dead. Not going to be trying to look pretty after they're dead. Okay. Okay. Let's merge these pieces together. Merge down, merge down, merge down. Drop that mask selection. And pretty stoked with that, actually. How quickly we were able to come up with all of it. Merge down the brain as well. Got some pretty anatomy. Got some zombification. I'm going to divide it one time, I think. Actually, before I do that, probably a good idea to separate the rest of the body. It's auto groups. Arg. There. Split hidden. All of this stuff I can divide. Again. Merge down. And let's say that someone's been trying to go at her. Take a go at her. We could still throw in some wounds as a little final touch. And maybe a base, just in case. So that's one thing I should probably create is a base brush, but I'm going to throw in a simple base right now. Append a cylinder 3D. And I'm going to go to my deformations tab and taper that down a bit. Probably just in the Y. And size it down in the Y as well. And let's divide it up a few times. Scale up the size of this base just a tad. Let's bring those feet up. Peeking through the top. But 3D printing trick again, not going to have those feet actually come that far up off the top. Select more of this leg just in case. Alright, that's likely to print better. I'll leave a little bit of the heel hanging up. That should be alright. Merge that down. There's our brain-eating Sarah. You know what? I should probably move this sphere a little bit so that it's more centered. Yeah, that'll do. And also, we forgot to add the wounds. So I'm going to go to my standard brush, drag rectangle. I'm going to bring in some of the alphas. Here's the zombie alphas. See, bullet hole, pox, brain cracked. Ooh, brain cracked. Later. Muscle cracked. Let's do the wound muscle alpha. Let's have some scars kind of peeking out here and there. Right there looks pretty interesting. Let's do another one on the other end. She's had a rough go of it. Let's grab another alpha just to change it up. Let's see here. Bone alpha. Let's do that. Let's mess up her knee. One of them. I was imagining that would be kind of the patella. Nice. Can't believe that worked. I'm really genuinely surprised when some things work. And this is the bowing that Stephen was talking about earlier. I'll have to adjust my focal shift so that it doesn't do that so much when I draw it out. But it's an easy fix to move it back into place. Nice. Alright, you know what? I kind of want to have some fun and add a bullet hole. So let's go ahead and add import bullet hole. Bullet hole. There it is. Haha. Bullet hole right in the head. Now that wouldn't make sense because then she'd already be dead. Let's add a random bullet hole here and there, like maybe someone tried to shoot her on her arm and failed. Everybody knows you can't shoot a zombie just on their shoulder. You need to aim for the head. Alright, so that's about it for this, guys. Thanks for joining me for this demo practice as I made this zombie. You do a quick turntable. Movie. Timeline. Nope, not timeline. This is document recording only, large, no title image, and modifiers. I like to crank this up a bit. Is it playback? No, recording, playback. Spin cycles. So I like to crank this to 360. And let's do a turntable. So if you want to stick around for another 2 more minutes, I'm going to, after this turntable is complete, I'm going to Dynamesh it, decimate it, and export it to PreForm and start prepping it for print. Probably going to take 5 minutes, but yeah. Good to know with this workflow, I can start from just a scratch pose and then make a character. And that's probably as detailed as I want to go in this. Export that movie out so I have it. Let's see, zombie alphas. No, C is demo stuff. Yep, let's call it turntable 1. And save that. Wax is saying, have you started to use the wash or the cure? I've used both actually. At my previous gig, Sky Castle Studios, we had a form wash and a form cure. So I'm familiar with both of them. I like them. It just, for me personally, it doesn't make sense to drop another 1,000 or 2 to get that here because I have the washing station and that's enough for me. And for curing them, I just put them out on my porch. So having the sun in LA, it's more than enough for curing. Alright, now with that done, I'm going to duplicate this mesh. It's way too high poly right now, 3.7 million polys. So I'm going to first Dynamesh all of these parts together. Let's do resolution of 500. Alright, and then once these parts are all Dynamesh together, I'm going to go to Decimation Master, Pre-Process Current, and Decimate Current. So it's pre-processing now. Alright, pre-processing complete. I'm going to go to decimate at 20% of 1.6 million. I think that should be good. So at 329K, probably decimated even more, but I think, oh, you know what the heck, let's decimate it more. Make for a faster demo. So at 164,000 polys, still retaining most of the detail, so that's good. Then we go to export now, Z plugin, 3D print hub, and I think we want these things to be about 4 inches tall, so I'll go 4 inches in the Y. You know what, first I'm going to update Y ratio, and then click 4 inches in the Y. And that's pretty good actually, we were sculpting it at 4 inches height, so I'm going to export this out now. I could export as STL, VRML for color stuff, OBJ, most file formats. But I'm going to just click on directly send to PreForm. I've got something open in PreForm right now, so let me close out of it. New, don't save. And, whoop, here, okay. You know what, just for the sake of being able to print this in time to actually show, I'm going to go even smaller, 3 inches, and send to PreForm. Alright, Helios is asking, do you think the Apple iPad Pro can be used professionally? Absolutely. I've seen a lot of artists do great work on those. The only thing I'd say is that it cannot be used professionally for 3D artists yet. 2D artists, they get to take the iPad or Procreate and then just work miracles with it. For a lot of us 3D guys, we need more processing power. Alright, so I'm going into PreForm now, and it's bringing the mesh in. Clicking Repair. And PreForm is Formlabs print prep software, where you can set the custom orientation and supports that you want, and then take it to print. I'm going to use inches. And look, it brought in everything. It brought in a whole bunch of stuff, and it separated it out. So this is wrong. We don't want this to happen. I'm going to click File, New, go back to my main scene, and it's trying to bring in a bunch of objects here. I don't want those. I only want the one that's visible. So under my export option, I only want to select Export Options Visible, and then do it. Send to PreForm. Repair. It's thinking. You guys can't see the progress bar at the bottom, but it's there. I'll say use inches, and there's our model. In PreForm, ready to go. Now if I print this at 0.1 microns, it says 3 hours. I'll probably need to change the orientation a bit. Make this a bit more print friendly. So something like that. Trying to avoid having unnecessary supports created on the body, but I don't think I have a choice with the way this brain is. I'm going to need some supports there. So if I think about it like this, it'll print upwards. And you can do a slice at the end to see how it'll print. Now this isn't a hollowed mesh either. So that's another thing we have to consider. Alright, so yeah, that's a pretty good orientation. And since I'm not printing solid and I don't have time to print it really big, I'm going to even go smaller with this. So take the scale down to 0.5. And so instead of 3 inches tall, I'm going to print it at 1.5 inches. Just make it really tiny. And go ahead and add the supports. Point size, I lowered that down. And density of 1, generate selected. That knocks my print time down a lot. Alright, here we go. And there's the finished print-ready object. I might go in and do a little custom support. I like to add like a big thick anchor at the bottom, usually 1 or 2. I want to make sure that I have enough supports on this character to cover all these bases. And since it's so small, I can go really small with some of the point size on these. Alright. Yeah, like these fingers. I'm going to go as small as I can with the support size on these fingers. Uh-oh. What? Ah, there. Alright, that's the custom supports done. And this should be finished printing in about an hour and a half. So as soon as one of these printers open up, which I don't even know if I have time for today, this should be ready to go. Save that out as Brain Eater Sarah. And hopefully next week when you guys tune in, I'll show you this zombie print as well as a bunch of others that we did at CES. So if you're in Vegas, come on by and see us. If not, I'll give you an update when I see you next week. Alright guys, thanks all for joining, and I'll see ya same bat time, same bat channel next Monday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So, cheers.